Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins in Oklahoma. In 1906, Brannigan is attempting to flee from three men wearing sheriff badges, Dugan, Stillwell, and their leader Ketchum. Brannigan is shot and captured, no matter how quickly he flees. Ketchum kicks him a few times, asking for the location of another man they've been pursuing, but Brannigan refuses to disclose. This prompts Ketchum to tie Brannigan to a horse, and drag him around the countryside, until he finally reveals the man they're looking for has gone east. Instead of releasing Brannigan, Ketchum kills him. Meanwhile, old Henry McCarty and his son Wyatt are hard at work on their farm. Henry grew up in New York and traveled extensively, before settling down as an Oklahoma farmer. Unfortunately, he lost his wife to a disease, but her brother Al visits frequently to lend a hand and be an uncle to Wyatt. Their lives are tranquil and cheerful. The only source of contention is Wyatt's desire to travel and learn to fire a pistol, both Henry forbids. It's still early in the morning, when they notice a passing horse with a blood-stained saddle, and no rider. While Wyatt transports the terrified animal to the farm, Henry mounts his own horse, and investigates the area, discovering an unconscious guy on the ground. Curry is his name, and he was shot in the shoulder, so Henry covers the wound with mud and a cloth. Then he discovers a revolver and a backpack full of money, indicating there is violence going on, that he does not want to be a part of. However, he just walks a few feet and he feels awful for the man, so he returns, picks up everything, and after getting rid of any evidence of their presence, he takes Curry back to the farm. They put him on a bed and tend to his wound, with the help of Wyatt. At night, Henry takes the revolver and the satchel containing the money, and hides them in a secret compartment in his closet, completely unaware that Wyatt is spying on him, through the space beneath the door. The next morning, Henry decides that if the bullet is not removed, the wound will not heal, so he goes to town to get a doctor. He ties Curry to the bed, and leaves the knife he used to cut the rope on the nightstand, before departing. Wyatt goes to Henry's closet after his father has left, to investigate the hidden compartment. He gets the gun and goes outside to practice shooting at a bottle, noticing the money in the bag, although it takes him a few tries to hit his target. Back at home, Curry is hearing shots in his sleep, and has nightmares of the night his house was burned down, and his family was murdered, while the perpetrator urged him to keep his head down. Soon, Wyatt returns to put the pistol back in the closet, seizing the opportunity to open a box Henry had concealed there, a long time ago. Inside, he discovers another gun, and a slew of newspaper clippings about some crimes. On the trip to town, Henry discovers Ketchum and his men have been following the path Curry left behind. Stillwell is such an expert tracker that he can tell when someone has covered Curry's tracks, so the three now know their suspect is working with someone else. These men hear some noises in the tall grass and shoot, but Henry has already fled before they can reach him. Back at the farm, Wyatt finds one of the ropes on Curry's hands is a little loose, and his other hand is wrapped in a blanket. When Wyatt removes the blanket, he notices that the rope has vanished, so Curry seizes the opportunity to stop pretending to be asleep, and frees himself. Grabbing the knife from the nightstand, he leaps on Wyatt, swearing he doesn't want to injure him, and only wants his bag back. When Henry returns, he kicks Curry off his son, hitting him until he loses consciousness again. They then tie Curry to a chair, and awaken him. After deciding that going to town for a doctor is too perilous, Henry starts to remove the bullet from Curry's wound, asking some questions. Curry, wriggling and sobbing in pain, claims to be a lawman, and advises Henry and Wyatt to escape before it's too late. The bullet is retrieved, but Ketchum and his men emerge outside, before Henry can ask any questions. When Henry goes to get Curry's gun, he notices that it has been shot, so he reloads it and heads outside. Ketchum identifies himself as a sheriff, and his partners as his deputies, then adds they're looking for Curry, a dangerous criminal and a murderer, who also pretends to be a sheriff. Ketchum continues questioning him about his personal life, taking great interest when he discovers his name is McCarty, because there was a criminal with a similar last name many years ago. Henry tells them he doesn't have any family, so it can't be a relative, and he hasn't seen someone who fits Curry's description, so he dismisses the men. Ketchum urges them to secure their doors tonight before departing. Then Henry returns to the house, and slaps Wyatt for using the gun, who merely wanted to know how it felt, because he was the only boy in the region who had never been trained to fire a firearm, and had to learn on his own. Wyatt criticizes Henry, and labels him useless, suggesting Henry will be left alone to die, since he will leave the farm as soon as he is able. Henry proceeds to interrogate his prisoner again, not wanting to think about how much it hurt. Curry says that he is the true sheriff, and the trio are bank robbers, who took the badges from Curry's officers after murdering them. He recovered the money, but was injured in the process, and blacked out and fell from his horse while fleeing, only to wake up on this property. Curry isn't sure why Ketchum didn't shoot Henry, but he's confident they'll return. Meanwhile, Ketchum and his men debate their options. They don't trust Henry, and are perplexed as to why he is assisting a stranger. Possibly he was promised a portion of the money. Dugan is perplexed as to why they didn't shoot him, despite the fact they were 3-1, so Ketchum explains something strange is going on. He doesn't believe Henry is in it for the money, and he wasn't exactly holding the pistol like a farmer. What they need to do first is acquire information, so Dugan will stay on the property, while Ketchum and Stillwell go hire some firearms, and pay Al a visit. As night falls, Henry orders Wyatt to go inside before completing his farm tasks, since it's too unsafe to be out this late. Later, Henry gives Curry some soup, prompting Curry to grumble about his continued confinement. Henry quizzes Curry about his background, to see if he can trust him. He tells about all the individuals he's worked and lived with, all of whom Henry recognizes from his travels. He also apologizes for jumping on Wyatt, claiming he was afraid and disoriented when he awoke in an unfamiliar area. Henry's face looks familiar, but he denies ever meeting Curry before, as he decides to release one of his hands. Then Henry puts his gun on the table, and goes to refill his glass, hoping Curry will grab it, but he doesn't. Curry, on the other hand, continues to tell Henry memories from his childhood, like the time he witnessed Billy the Kid being shot. Curry had heard Billy's voice in his dream earlier. Hearing the stories and witnessing Curry not go for the pistol is enough to make Henry believe him. He releases Curry's other hand, returns his gun, and advises him to leave his house, before the thugs return. They don't get to discuss it further, however, when Dugan starts shooting at them through the window. Curry fires back, and Wyatt rushes over to investigate what's going on, taking a bullet to the arm in the process. Curry goes out in pain, so Henry gets his revolver, as Dugan crawls underneath the house, shooting through the floor every time Henry moves. After deciding on a strategy, Henry hands the gun to his son, and offers him some shooting tips, before tossing a book on the floor to fool Dugan into shooting in that direction, as he rushes the other way. Henry rushes outside with his gun, and continues shooting under the house, until Dugan runs out and is shot in the leg. Henry leaps on him, and attempts to force him to reveal some information, but Dugan refuses to cooperate, so Henry murders him. After finding a gang mark on Dugan, he feeds the body to the pigs, to make it disappear. Following that, Henry tends to Wyatt's wound, while deflecting his son's questions about his history. Wyatt believes his father does not respect him, and Henry cannot expect to be treated with respect in return. After checking on Curry, who is still dreaming about the fire, Henry steps outside with his gun, and braces for the worst. Al goes bird hunting in the morning, making it easy for Ketchum and Stillwell to discover him. They want to know more about Henry, but Al refuses to answer, and is knocked down as soon as he tries to defend. Back at the farm, Henry and Wyatt assist Curry in getting ready to go. Curry can barely walk, let alone ride a horse, so he instructs them to leave, while he stays behind to finish things. Wyatt wants to stay and defend his house as well, but Henry agrees with Curry, and prepares his son to go. Unfortunately, as they make it outside, they are met with a nasty surprise. Ketchum and Stillwell have returned with a slew of hired guns. Ketchum makes the father and son a deal: if they give him Curry, he'll let them depart without a scratch. Ketchum goes a step further, and reveals they've captured Al, who is injured and bleeding, because Henry refuses to accept. Henry grabs his weapon and hands it to Wyatt, urging him to stay inside, away from the window, and only shoot if absolutely necessary. Ignoring Curry's requests for release, Henry goes to see Ketchum, who reveals he isn't a sheriff, and is dying to know who Henry is. Ketchum offers to swap Al for Curry, but Henry declines, and because neither he nor Al would divulge any secrets, Ketchum kills Al right there and then. This causes Wyatt to emerge and begin firing, so Henry takes him back inside, as the gang retaliates, hitting Curry on the leg as he approaches the window. Henry tells Wyatt to keep his head down, chastising him for acting without thinking. Hearing these statements that fit his dream, Curry finally connects the dots, and knows Henry's true identity is Billy the Kid. He didn't die in the fire, he just escaped. Henry ignores him, focusing instead on getting his old gun and holster, before heading outside to begin firing after only a few words. Henry shoots a few gang members, and returns to the house through the window, leaving a gap large enough for Curry to shoot a few men as well. As the remaining men approach, Henry grabs a knife and exits through the back door. He sneaks around, stabs 2 crooks, and hides under the house to shoot a third. Then he meets Stillwell, who tries to use his knife as well, but Henry murders him before he can even take a step. Only Ketchum remains. He's hiding behind the pig pen, and manages to injure Henry on the shoulder, prompting him to flee into the woods and forcing Ketchum to follow. Both men shelter behind trees, while they trade shots, but Henry is too good, and hits Ketchum in the knee and shoulder. When Henry gets closer, Ketchum manages to land one last shot, before Henry finishes him down for good. The wounds aren't significant, so when Henry returns to the farm, he goes to Curry for assistance with his own injuries. When Henry rips Curry's sleeve off to have a look at his arm, he discovers a stunning surprise: Curry has the same gang mark as Dugan, and he shoots Henry for noticing. Curry technically did not lie, he admits to being a sheriff, albeit a corrupt one. He and his deputies had previously worked with Ketchum, but when they learned Ketchum was plotting to kill them, during their last task, Curry attempted to flee, and that's how it all began. Henry is in pain, but not yet dead, and Curry wants to be the one to assassinate Billy the Kid. But Wyatt arrives, and kills him before he can shoot. He wants to get his father a doctor, but Henry says it's too late, so he wants to say some final words to his son before he dies. When Wyatt leaves the house, he'll hear many stories about Billy the Kid, and Henry wants him to know that only half of them are true. He admits to not being a nice person, and does not believe in atonement. All this time, he's just been trying to find satisfaction in raising a good child. Henry doesn't believe he has a place in this new world, but Wyatt is certain he does. Wyatt buries his father close to his mother after grieving. When he's emotionally ready, he packs his belongings, and rides away from the farm on his horse, like he's always longed to do. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.